And here we go. What's up, everybody? Welcome in to the Lone Gunman Podcast, episode number 399er.
Oh, wow. One away.
Yeah, we are getting into, we're going to be getting into some Cuban Exile talk tonight, and we're going to lay a somewhat of a theory out for you guys as to possibly what could have been happening here. But before we do, Joe, as per the usual, run through this Kafuza that have so graciously graced us with their presence here this evening in the peanut gallery, if you will. Please do.
Sure. Well, Tiny gets the gold. I know she's been wanting the gold for a few weeks.
Number one and number one in your hearts.
In
Tiny.
your hearts and minds, yes. James Smith, what up, bud? How are you? Get the silver. And
Hey,
and Trey
appropriately
and
third.
appropriately gets the trace. Yes. Uh, Johnny Ola knows these places like the back of his hand, which is, of course, a Godfather reference in Cuba, actually. Um, yeah, GF2. No, it is. They were in Havana. Michael Corleone was very concerned about the Cuban Revolution there, and this was just as Castro was kind of taking over. Derek Schwinderman, what up, buddy? Good evening to you,
Third.
sir. Sally, can we have to figure out this flag because it doesn't look like Ireland.
Good evening.
I know, but it looks like Norway or something.
And what
But
animal is that? Is that a lion?
that is the lion.
Hmm.
Interesting. Mike, the library man, what's up, buddy?
Hey, Mike.
Uh, we we said hi to Sally already. Yeah, Quick Hits is going to be live tomorrow on the Tube. It is not a surprise um, anymore, so that should be fun. Definitely tune in
Hang
for
on, Joe.
that.
You froze up that entire comment you just said.
Oh, I said Quick Hits is going to be live tomorrow on the Tube. It is no longer a surprise because you put it up there, but
You did.
definitely tune in for that. Should be a good one as Quick Hits always is.
Get your asses up early. It's 9 a.m. Eastern time.
Yeah, right. Get some sleep after the show tonight and get up and talk some more JFK.
For those of you across the globe, it'll be appropriately in the afternoon.
Yes. Toops says morning, evening. Have a great episode. I'll have to catch the replay. That's,
Oopsie.
that is okay. All good, baby. Claude and Aunt Udine. What up? What up? Cold Lone Stars and some smoke. Nice.
C&E getting toasted tonight. I like it.
I like it too. Mr. Jack Taylor. What up, buddy? How are you?
Jack.
Um, Owen Smith, morning everyone. Hope you're all good and ready to go. Shared to X as always. Well, thank you. We appreciate that.
Thank you, Lord Jeebus. We appreciate it.
Yeah. It's always good to be on X too. Mr. Scott Edwards, Aunt UD
Scott.
was more likely to be involved with Oswald than Judy, but there's no single Lone Star theory. early, early comment of the night.
Yeah.
Scott usually gets a lot of those. If we had medals for comment of the night, I think Scott would be up there. Um, Ashley Wood, Crikey, I'm listening live. Hi, everyone. Thank you.
Yes. Welcome, Ashley, from upside down in Australia. You're hanging in
And
there. It's good to see.
yes, and Timothy Ryan in the house. What up? Hello from hot Philly tonight. It is hot. It's been 90 plus degrees here.
It's humid as balls here. Like, it's
Hmm.
bad.
Yeah, the Ruby does not like the heat. She does not like the cold. She does not like the rain or the weather or the snow or anything. But
She's a prima donna like her father.
yeah, fair, fair, fair. Let's see. Slacker Dan, what up? Howdy.
You missed Anthony, our carpet salesman.
No, I think I talked. Didn't I talk about his comment when he said he would be catching the replay?
No, that was Ashley.
No.
That's good.
I'm
Hi, Anthony. We
I'm
care about Quest carpets here.
I'm going back up because I'm pretty sure I'm right here. We'll see. Oh no.
Here, I'll find it for you. He said, "Morning, all. Go USA in a few hours. Shame they aren't playing Cuba."
Oh. Well, sorry if I missed you, Tubes.
Not Toops. Just shut up and move on before you get.
Oh, Thrip. These Australians, they get me
God
confused.
damn it. Ah,
Oh, yeah, Cavolta, right?
Polynesian.
Paul Nietzsche, what's up? Hey, boys, how are you, sir? GP Ideal, what up, what up?
What's up, Will?
How are you? Joseph, it's in the English flag. Oh,
That ain't the English flag I know. That ain't the
that's
Union Jack, Sally.
okay. Yeah, not the one I know either, but we might be behind the game there in terms of flags. We said hi, Trey, Timothy, Ryan, Turin. What's up, boy? How are you, sir? Saw
Hooray.
saw this damn case already. I mean,
We
listen,
might tonight. We might tonight. I'm telling you, it's a good theory. So
yeah,
pay attention.
and we had a not to toot our own horn, we had a banger of a show on Wednesday, right?
We had
Over
a long ass show on Wednesday night for members only,
2.5 hours, over 2.5, a little
but
over.
it was killer.
We went on some great discussions, and if you're not a covert operator, what are you doing? Big Bag Josh, what up? Can't wait for your quote theory.
Joshua.
Yeah, it was some scafoozas who did it. That's our theory.
That's
Um,
Josh French.
uh,
Joshua.
all right, that is it. So let's get started. Why don't you kick it off, sir?
Fine. I will. Okay. So we came across some very interesting information in the course of doing this whole investigation into Sylvia Odio and Father McCann. One of the suppositions, well, let me back up for a second, because this actually goes back to the last time that we had Larry Hancock and David Boylan on the show. And of course, they've been trying to explain and go into Oswald's head and really try to figure out who this guy was and exactly what he was doing and why he was doing it.
Right.
And look, we are conspiracy theorists here. We are not lone nutters, and we get some of the pushback to the Hancock and Boylan theory. We get it. People want Oswald to be totally innocent. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be the case. And not just from their work, stuff that we've looked into, Joe, with what Oswald was doing with, his signature analysis. I mean, some of these things are very damning. We've looked into the letters that he and Marina were writing back to the Russian embassy, trying to go back to Russia. You have Oswald getting his passport in June of 1963 with plans to travel in October through January of 1963.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on this passport application that he got in June in New Orleans, clearly states on there that he would be traveling to a bunch of different countries in Europe with Russia buried right in the middle, and that he would be doing it by boat. Okay. Now, obviously, this is not what happened. Okay. And ultimately, the only time he would have needed this passport is when he was trying to obtain a Cuban visa, a Cuban entrance visa.
Right.
To go to Cuba. He would have had to show his passport at the Cuban consulate had he been approved for this emergency Cuban visa.
Had he been prepared.
Yeah. The same emergency Cuban visa that Gilberto Policarpo Lopez did get. And if you don't know who he is, I'm sorry. I don't have time to explain it here, but he was another Cuban exile who was in the FPCC in Florida, who happened to be in Dallas at the time of the assassination, and then traveled down out of Texas. He was photographed at the border going into Mexico, and he made his way to the Cuban consulate, and he was granted an emergency return visa to Cuba.
Right.
And he was the only one on the plane.
Yeah, that I was about to say. Didn't he get his own kind of
Yeah.
private flight, if you will?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So this is an example of someone who did have all their documents in order.
Well, not necessarily documents in order, but he had some kind of pull that we just are not privy to. Had Oswald had some kind of pull where somebody okayed this thing, it might have been a different story, but nobody at the Cuban consulate or the Russian consulate could approve it on their own. They had to get word from above. And for Gilberto Policarpo Lopez, that word did come down from above from Castro, who approved his emergency entrance visa back to Cuba.
Right. And not for lack of trying on Oswald's part, because he brought all, the newspaper articles and, you know, details of the fracas and his FPCC bona fides, if you will, to the
He
embassy.
brought his old passport that he used to travel to Russia. He had that with him as well. So he had a lot of evidence that he was a Castro supporter. But again, you can try to convince the people working there, but approval has to come from down on high, right? And he just didn't get it. So where was I going with this? Oh, back to Larry Hancock and David Boland. Again, we are conspiracy theorists, and yes, we realize that there are problems with every aspect of this case, including Mexico City. Some people believe that he never went. Some people believe that he did go. Some people believe that he was impersonated there. Some people believe that he went there and was impersonated. And there's decent evidence to back up all of this.
Correct.
The problem is, when you look at certain things, I think I came to the conclusion that I was pretty sure that Oswald went to Mexico. Just from looking at his signatures on things. And of course, there's problems with things. He could have been impersonated at the Cuban consulate. We have 2 copies of his Cuban entrance visa application. One is stamped. One was given to the HSCA by Castro on a trip to Cuba in 1978. The other one they retrieved shortly thereafter from the embassy when they were investigating for the Warren Commission. That was not stamped. It was typed through the lines. It was very dark, hard to read.
Yes.
That kind of thing. Now, one thing that might explain that away is that the shitty version is one that they might have done with Oswald in their presence, because the signature does look like his on that copy. Now, after Oswald leaves, maybe her supervisor said, "Look, that just is not going to work. That is, you're typing right through the middle of the lines. Redo it." So they retyped it, and then somebody signed Lee Oswald's name at the bottom, and they stamped it.
Right. It might not have been actually Lee signing it.
Right. It does not look like his signature. It's 2 totally different signatures on the same thing.
Right. Or it could have even possibly been transcribed after to make it more legible. Would you agree that's a slight possibility?
No, because the original copy was typed too. I mean, it said the exact same thing.
Okay.
Both copies said the exact same thing in type. And there's a whole paragraph at the bottom written in Spanish. It's the same on both. The only thing that's different is one is typed correctly over top of the line.
Right. One's in the middle of the line.
One's in the middle of the line and very dark and hard to read. One is stamped officially and one is not. Right? So this That could be the explanation for that. But back to the theory. So let's back up a little bit and talk first about the DRE. We came across something when me and Joe were diving into the Silvio thing, where one of the people who came to her, well, actually both of her visitors, it was claimed that they were Cubans from New Orleans. Okay, that's what she said.
Came to Sylvia Odio, right?
Yeah, with Leon Oswald, whoever that was.
Mm-hmm.
She claimed that they were two Cubans from New Orleans named Angelo and Leopoldo, or that's what they told her. They also told her that they were with JFK. They also told her that they knew her father, yada, yada, yada. Now, we also saw that one of the members, or one of the people who visited her, could have possibly been Juan Manuel Salvat, otherwise known as Am-Hint number 2. All right, and he's a Cuban exile. He was in charge of the operations for the DRE. He was like the third man.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, he was an operator. He wasn't an office sitter. He wasn't just sitting in the office somewhere doing paperwork. This guy was in charge of their operational arm of the DRE, as far as seriously going and being involved. So,
yep.
Let's see here. I'm going to put together a little bit of a timeline just to help everybody put this in their mind in the correct order.
Okay.
So, going back to 1962, on September the 14th, Ted Shackley, the chief of the CIA station in Miami, sent a 22-page progress report to CIA headquarters about the activities, budget, and intentions of the DRE in August of 62. It was based on reports filed with Shackley by case officers working with the group. In this and other agency records, the DRE is referred to by the cryptonym AMSPEL. Okay, that's the DRE.
Right.
Shackley is identified as his pseudonym Andrew K. Ruderman. Okay, that's Ted Shackley's AKA.
Shooterman.
Andrew Ruderman.
Ruderman. Don't want to get him confused with Derek Shooterman.
No. The August 62 monthly report described the organization of the CIA's relationship with the DRE, stating AMSPEL is, quote, comprised of AMBARB and Am-Hint activities. Serves only to promote propaganda in the Latin American countries where AMBARB delegates were assigned. Now, Am-Hint, of which Salvat was one of them, was the agency's cryptonym for a program to support, or a program of support for certain leaders of the DRE, a group that had first formed at the University of Havana and then been forced into exile by Castro's Cuban forces. The DRE leaders were identified in CIA communications with the Am-Hint designation, followed by a number. For example, Am-Hint 53 was DRE Secretary General Luis Fernandez Roja.
Right. One of the other top BSDs, big swing, you know what, of the DRE. Yes. Who pretty much had him and Salvat pretty much had direct access to Howard, right? Which would have been Joanides.
Well, we're not there yet.
Okay. Sorry, I jumped the gun.
Am-Hint 2 was DRE co-founder, as we said, Juan Manuel Salvat. The report also detailed how the agency handled its relationship with the Cuban students. According to Shackley's report, there was a case officer assigned to each AMSPEL component. Okay. These officers had regular contacts with members of all the sections. Thus, the AMHINT officer known as Stanley Zamka, aka David Sanchez Morales, those of you keeping score out there, met with a Cuban exile known as AMHINT 2, that would be Salvat, for regular paramilitary operational purposes. So this guy is a serious operator if you're dealing with Morales, right?
Yes.
The AMBARB officer, Robert Nylander, identity unknown, met with a source known as AMBARB 84, identity unknown, as regular operational contact with AMHINT 2 as a, quote, emergency AMBARB contact. The AMSPEL officer, Harold Noermeyer, a.k.a. Ross Crozier, met with AMHINT 2 Salvat as, quote, regular overall AMSPEL control, and with AMBARB 54, who was identity unknown for occasional legal matters. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So let's move on a little bit here. In the timeline, where we get to the Cuban Missile Crisis, of course, in October of 1962. On November 6, 1962, Jerry O'Leary, a staff writer with the Washington Star newspaper, reported that according to the DRE, the Soviet missiles had not been removed from Cuba, contrary to what the U.S. government had been telling the world. According to its leaders, Castro had stashed the missiles in caves outside of Havana. Kennedy read the story and asked CIA Director John McCone about it. Kennedy suggested, quote, an effort to persuade responsible editors to check such stories with the government before they printed them next time, you dumb motherfuckers. So, later that day, let's see, hold on. Yeah, later that day, or actually November 12th, apparently Roca, a.k.a. AMHINT 53, the Secretary General of the DRE, went on NBC's televised Today Show and repeated the missiles and caves story to America. And they aired it.
Okay, is this 62 or 3?
62.
Okay.
Later that day, Kennedy mentioned the Today Show in a meeting with his national security advisors, and he asked that every Cuban refugee making claims about arms going to Cuba be interviewed within 24 hours. Quote, the refugees are naturally trying to build up their story in an effort to get us to invade, Kennedy said. Quote, we must get the people the facts that the refugees have no evidence, which we do not have. Quote. So, on November the 13th, 1962, CIA Director Richard Helms summoned DRE leaders Roja and Jose Maria Lassa to his office to discuss the CIA's relationship with the group. So again, shortly after all this shit hits the fan, the heads of the DRE, the leaders of the DRE, are brought to Langley.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yep.
They meet with Richard Helms himself.
Right. And they are, we've talked about this before on our DRE episodes, but they are causing problems for the administration.
Yes.
The DRE. And they are obviously getting funded, but they are causing problems with their, quote, propaganda, if you will.
Yes. They are. Most certainly.
Big problems, not small problems.
Big enough to get called to Langley and to meet with Richard Helms himself and be berated.
Right. Dressed down, yeah.
Helms said that he was aware of the group's differences with U.S. policy towards Cuba and did not know what the policy would be in the future. He said the agency wanted to work with the DRE. To improve the relationship, Helms said he was going to reassign the group a new CIA contact. Quote, regarding the new contact, Mr. Helms stated that he wanted a man who would and could maintain collaboration he had outlined and would be helpful and of assistance to the DRE. He also stated that this contact would be, quote, personally responsible to him for the relationship. Now, this is where Mr. Joanides comes in.
Enter Joanides.
On December the 5th, 1962, Joanides met with Rocha.
Who replaced Crozier.
Yes.
Yeah, so Crozier, you're not doing a good job controlling these skafuzas, these fools. We're going to give you a new boss, or assign a new boss to look over them.
Yes. However, at this time, this whole Howard thing becomes a problem because, as Shackley reported, the alias Walter Newby, a.k.a. Joanides, was introduced to AmHint 53, a.k.a. the DRE, and he succeeded Harold Nomayer, or Ross Crozier, as the case officer for the project. So if these DRE Cubans know Joanides as Walter Newby, Howard is not the guy they're talking about when they refer to Joanides. Because according to Ted Shackley in his report, his alias is Walter Newby, and not Howard.
Howard Gebler?
Gebler.
Gebler, right.
Yes. So, that's a problem. Mr. Morley. But I digress. In interviews, Rocha recalls that his new CIA contact introduced himself as Howard. Again, which doesn't match Shackley's description, unless they were pulling the wool over Shackley's eyes and saying, here's Walter Newby. He's going to be Howard.
I don't see that as...
That doesn't make sense, does it?
No.
I mean, Shackley's the swinging dick at JM
Yeah, but let me ask you this. Didn't some of the new groundbreaking Joanides docs confirm Howard Gebler as Joanides? Or did they not? Refresh my memory.
Yeah, it was one of his aliases.
Right. So
but a lot of these guys had multiple aliases for multiple reasons.
That's what I was going to ask. Like multiple aliases, right?
But
for multiple projects. Right.
It says Shackley reported that Walter Newby was introduced to AmHint 53, which is the DRE, and succeeded Crozier as the case officer for the project. So unless Ted Shackley thought that Joanides was Walter Newby and had another alien, it gets confusing.
Yeah, I don't think Shackley, like literally leading JM Wave, would have been misled on that.
I don't either.
It doesn't make sense to me that would be the case. They're like, oh, we're going to keep Ted Shackley out of this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Again, the records of the DRE, Joe, were donated by Juan Salvat to the University of Miami's library's Cuban Heritage Collection. It contains numerous memos and letters in 63 addressed to, quote, Howard or Mr. Howard concerning the DRE's struggle against communism in Cuba. Mm-hmm. So who is this mysterious Howard? They never use the last name of Gebler.
Right.
It's just always Howard or Mr. Howard, which would intend a last name.
Right. And wasn't it based on some like driver's license application or some shit?
Yeah.
That the Gebler thing came out recently, or I don't know.
Yeah. So, December 8th, 62, Helms informs the National Security Advisor, McGeorge Bundy, that the DRE was planning to issue an open letter to Kennedy calling on him to, quote, fulfill his promises to liberate Cuba. Helms wrote, if the DRE goes through with the plan to present this letter to its CIA contact officer, the office will make every attempt to dissuade the DRE leadership from this, attempting to pressure the United States government. And on December 12th, Rocha gave a copy of the DRE's open letter to President Kennedy to his new contact, Joanides, a.k.a. Walter Newby, a.k.a. Howard or Mr. Howard, allegedly. He asked that the letter be reported to Helms immediately. Now, here's where it gets interesting. There is some big friction between the leaders of the DRE and the CIA at this time. The DRE is not listening. And obviously they're still pissed off about the Bay of Pigs. What happened there? A lot of family, friends were killed because of what they believe and what the CIA has been telling them. Well, hey, Kennedy didn't send in air support. Sorry, we did all we could. We trained a bunch of you guys. We went in fighting beside you guys, and Kennedy was of no help to us. So you can understand how, while the CIA might be funding these Cuban exile groups, they had no love for Kennedy at all, Joe.
No. And,
And now they're being brought to the carpet, berated, and muzzled.
Right.
By the United States government and threatened. You shut the fuck up, or, or we're going to yank your funding and possibly worse.
Yes. Yeah.
So you can see how this tension is building, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now we're coming this is the end of 62. We're coming into 63 now, right?
Okay.
On January 14th, 63, Newby, not Howard, Newby reprimanded Amhint 53 for failure to report an unusual substance of coded broadcasts over WMIE, a Miami radio station. According to JFK cable to headquarters, Newby pointed out this flagrant violation of the FCC, thus placing Kubark, CIA, in an embarrassing position. Amhint 53 apologized profusely, but said it was urgently necessary to alert PB Rumen, that's Cuban, Amspels, Cuban exiles, DRE Cuban exiles, who were to penetration danger. The first time existence penetration reported by Amhint 53 or other Amspel members. And this is the Cuban government figuring out who the stay-back DRE members were in Cuba.
Right.
And if Castro found out who they were, he'd kill them all.
Right. Which is, of course, one of their major draws to the CIA, and having a lot of them be students, University of Havana, whatever, being able to give intelligence of what was actually going on there, right? And that's why they were funded to the tune that they were.
Yeah, and these are young guys. These are smart guys going to university. They're young. These are not 50-year-old men sitting around bullshitting.
No, some of them are younger than Oswald, even, at this point. Many of them.
So again, now we have Newby reprimanding the DRE again for this stuff. On January 16th, 63, a CIA polygraph specialist wrote that just before the polygraph interviews, so they polygraphed the DRE guys in January of 63. They did Amhint 53 and Ambarb 65. The previous day, Amhint 53 brought up 2 points, which he said he was thinking of mentioning to Newby sometime soon, and which the examiner would like to make sure are brought to the attention of his case officer. So now you see that they don't trust the DRE at all. They are only questioning them under polygraph examination at this point.
Mm-hmm. And the feeling is probably mutual, Rob.
Yeah, but you gotta put yourself in these guys' place, all right?
Okay.
You're working for them. You're being funded by them. They won't let you do anything that you want to do. And now They're calling you to the carpet. They're berating you. And now, whenever you talk to them, you have to be hooked up to a fucking polygraph machine because they don't trust you.
That would piss me off.
So you can see how the tension here is building. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So let's see. That's unbelievable. I did not know that they were doing that, but
I didn't either, actually.
yeah, I would be pissed.
Especially if you're like a big swinging D of the DRE and you go to meet with your handlers, funders, whatever you want to call them, and they're hooking you up to that type of stuff. They're calling you to DC. Like, that's going to piss me off.
Yeah. And again, yeah, the Bay of Pigs happened in 61, the Cuban Missile Crisis in 62. Kennedy is not their favorite person in the world at all. So in February of 63, towards the end of February, Roca told Newby that the present Amspel mood favors action ops of Havana raid types, which means they want to get to do something. They're tired of sitting on their fucking hands, and it's time to do something. They want to go on more raids.
Right. They're getting frustrated. They're getting impatient. Yes.
Yes. He told them that planning was currently already well underway. AmHint 52 declared Amspel, that's the DRE, feels so strong on the necessity of action that it intends to proceed even if Kubark were to discontinue Amspel financial report. So they basically tell him, look, we're going to do this shit with or without you, with or without your money.
Mm-hmm.
We don't give a fuck what you say. Right? We're tired of sitting on our hands. Somebody needs to do something. This is in February of 63, people. AmHint 53 intends this alert on raid to constitute compliance with their gentleman's agreement that AmHint 53 had with Fletcher Knight, a.k.a. Richard Helms.
Mm-hmm.
That's
his alias.
Yeah.
But kind of like a handshake agreement, not really.
Yeah, it wasn't in writing.
Correct.
Yeah. The cable noted Newby re-emphasized Kubark opposition to this plan and warned that appropriate ODIOC United States elements could not look the other way, but would attempt to intercept all Amspel raiders and deal with them in open waters if necessary. Which means, okay, you fuck around and find out, DRE. Try it, and we'll blow your asses out of the water.
Right. Okay? And you also have to consider Rob Newby, or Joe Needes, was put in there specifically to keep an eye on these Scafuzas, right? So you could see how the tension would be building in terms of, oh, we don't want them to do that, and they're going to do it anyway, and okay, we'll intercept them. Like, you could see how it's kind of escalating, right?
Yeah, it's escalating for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So let's fast forward to April. Well, actually to March. The Kennedy administration announced a crackdown on anti-Castro groups seeking to use U.S. territory to organize or launch attacks against Cuba. On April 3rd, the Cuban Coordinating Committee, which oversaw covert operations against the Castro government, met with Helms and representatives of the state and defense departments to discuss 6 proposed covert operations, including the sabotage of Cuban shipping. The CCC gave the CIA the option of using either its own Cubans or the DRE as a cutout to take the fall.
Right. Where does that sound familiar?
Yeah. On April the 4th, the New York Times quoted the DRE Secretary General Rojas' response to the crackdown, and he said, "The United States has unjustly imposed imprisonment on some of our Cuban leaders, and some of them are still confined to their homes." He said, "Efforts to overthrow Castro have always culminated in abandonment, treachery, and broken promises." So he's pissed.
They're not happy.
They are pissed. Also on April the 4th, Shackley reported that Amspel, the DRE, had called a special meeting of its military section, a.k.a. their operations division.
A.k.a. Salvat.
Yes. Speaker was AM hit number 5, aka Isidro Borja, who had served as the chief of the DRE's military section. He told the military section relations with Kubark, CIA, have come to an impasse and no alternative for Amspel but break relations and continue without aid. Citing one reason, AMHIT 5 said that Kubark wanted military section dismantled, a condition that the DRE could not accept.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a problem.
This is April of 63.
This is problems. These are problems.
Yeah, it ain't all sunshine and rainbows.
No.
So let's see. As of April 63, the DRE was receiving $51,000 a month, which is a lot of fucking money in April of 63.
Mm-hmm.
A lot.
Mm-hmm.
According to a CIA memo, the memo listed average monthly payments made to the groups guided and monitored by the agency. It stated that payments to DRE were subsidized by, quote, the headquarters of an organization in Miami to the tune of $25,000 a month, while CIA field stations are in direct contact with the fund representatives of the DRE in most Latin American countries. All right. On April 29th, SAS Chief Desmond Fitzgerald again ordered JFK not to cut off funding for Amspel without approval from headquarters. And on June 24th, the DRE propaganda section addresses a memo to Howard. On June 28th, DRE member Barb 84 gave Newby a memo about Soviet activity in Cuba. Amspel was going to use the information in a press release. That's the DRE. Newby inquired about the source of the information, and according to DRE memos in July of 63, he gave the group money for a military operation and brought the group an air conditioner for their headquarters.
Mm-hmm. And Rob, just to stop you really quickly, I just did the updated inflation calculator because, inflation has been rising. In April 63, $550,000 would have been close to $6 million a month.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah. But they were ready to throw that away if the CIA didn't let them do what they wanted to do.
Which is significant.
Yeah.
If you're not going to want $6 million a month in purchasing power today to, do what you want to do, you're obviously very invested in your
ideology outweighs the monetary value of the project.
Bingo.
Which means you believe more in following your heart and doing what you think is right than padding your wallet, which is a noble supposition.
Yep.
Right?
It is.
I've always said, whoever pulled that trigger in Dealey Plaza either got paid a shit ton of money or they did it for free because their ideology was strong enough to be like, all right, this motherfucker needs to die.
100%, man. I mean, it could have been a little bit of both, but yeah, I think either one of them two would have been the driving force. And I put my money in ideology.
Yeah, and if you think the DRE didn't have the money to pay to get this done, you're dead wrong. Because that money would have come directly from our government to the tune of $25,000 a month. Which is what, Joe? The equivalent of what? $6 million?
I did $500,000 a month. Isn't that what you said?
No. $51,000 a month.
Oh, then I'm a little off.
A little inflated.
Pun intended. It would have been about 56 grand a month when adjusted for inflation.
That's not right either. 51,000, Joe, is not adjusted to 50.
Oh, I have 5,100. I'm sorry, I missed a zero there. I'm missing zeros. I'm adding zeros. It's approximately 555,000 a month. So a little over $500,000 a month.
A little over $500,000 a month.
Correct.
That could definitely buy an assassin or two.
It definitely could, especially
or 3 or 4.
when
Horrified.
you consider how much they yeah, I misheard you, but yeah, it definitely could have, and these guys weren't rich. These
Right.
these exiles, like, you talk about Lauren Hall. I mean, not that he's an exile; he's more of a mercenary, but
You'd have gave his left nut to get this much money every month.
right, like, and like people going to Walker and everyone else, and who knows how much they actually spent in their average monthly expenditures, if you will.
Right. Especially if the government wouldn't let him doing anything. I mean,
Right, you
there's
say
only so
that.
much you can spend on printing flyers and pirate radio bullshit. You know what I'm saying? That's
Yeah,
propaganda. I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
So as we
No,
move closer
I
to the date in question,
I would bank some of it for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
So let's move closer to the date in question. We're up to July 31st of 63. Joe Anides received a fitness evaluation for his work since March 27th. His boss stated that he had done an excellent job in the handling of significant student exile groups, which hitherto had successfully resisted any important degree of control. Joe Anides' handling of the DRE contrasted with his work on an, quote, unproductive group whose funding had been cut off before. Joe Anides was promoted to the chief of the Psy-War branch of the JFK station.
Psychological warfare.
Yes. So on August the 5th, Oswald visited a store owned by Carlos Bernier on Decatur Street in New Orleans. He headed the DRE and was actually the only DRE delegate in New Orleans. Oswald offered to help train Cuban exiles for military operations in Cuba. Bernier demurred, which means he said, "No, I'm good." He didn't trust this gringo motherfucker, right? So Oswald left his Marine Corps training manual as a token of his good faith with Mr. Carlos Bernier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now you can imagine, Joe. When on August 9th, Oswald was handing out pamphlets for a pro-Castro group called the Fair Play for Cuba Committee on a street corner not far from Bernier's store, when a couple of Bernier's friends came to his store and was like, "You're not going to believe what's happening. Some gringo is going down Canal Street with a Viva Fidel placard around his neck saying fair play for Cuba," or whatever. So Bernier rounded up 3 other members, Celso Hernandez, Miguel Cruz, and Carlos Quiroga. The Cubans challenged Oswald for his apparent double dealings and his support of Castro and got into a fight with him.
Yes.
Police arrested 3 of the 4 Cubans and Oswald,
Mm-hmm.
which means Quiroga slipped, by the way.
Well, that's interesting.
If that's correct. I'm not 100% sure.
Could it have been Bartez too,
It
or
could have been because, well, I don't know. Because Quiroga had went to Oswald's house
right?
and tried to
Pretending.
infiltrate his Fair Play for Cuba committee after the fracas. So I think Oswald would have known, had Quiroga been with the 3 with Bernier and his buddies, that something was
Yeah.
was going on there. But
Yes. I agree. And before you start, continue, didn't, because we were talking about other people that were privately funding the DRE as well, didn't Claire Loose Booth, Claire Booth, Loose Booth, right? I think you have that a little backwards, fund the DRE too.
Josh does not have it backwards. That
Oh,
is,
I have it backwards. I'm sorry, Josh. Um, I know she definitely forwarded the story. What was it, the night of the 22nd, I believe it was? A lot of the propaganda.
look, she owned Life magazine, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
And
her husband, yeah.
they're basically trading money for exclusive stories to print in Life magazine. They were going down and sending life writers and photographers along with these Cuban exiles on these raids because this is exciting shit in 1963. This is what people want to read about. This is what sells Life magazines. Right? And she paid a lot of money to various Cuban groups to allow this to happen. So technically, she kind of funded them, but she was getting something in return.
Yeah, more like supported and publicized their propaganda. I don't know about funding. She could have very well. I just don't know.
So, on August the 12th, Oswald and the DRE Cubans appeared in court. A TV news crew filmed the men coming and going. August 21st, Bernier, Oswald, and two local journalists appeared on the radio show Latin and the Listening Post, a local radio program. Bernier was identified as a representative of the DRE. The four men debated the Cuban issue for 30 minutes, with Oswald defending Castro and Bernier asking if his organization should be called the Fair Play for Russia Committee. Afterwards, Bernier issued a press release in the name of the DRE calling for a congressional investigation of Oswald. Quote, "Write to your congressman asking for a full investigation on Mr. Lee H. Oswald, a confessed Marxist." Oswald's contacts with the DRE in New Orleans were reported to DRE headquarters in Miami and to the group's CIA contact, according to Isidro Borja, who was chief of the DRE's military section at the time. Quote, "I know Bernier gave us information that had happened and that we made a report to the CIA about it," Borja told the HSCA in 1978. On August the 26th, 63, Richard Kane, Joe, maybe you've heard of him.
Oh, yes.
A former Chicago police officer reported to the CIA that a Cuban source told him that he had been recruited by the DRE to fight Castro in Cuba. The source said that he would not join any effort not backed by the U.S. government, at which point the DRE representative placed a phone call to Miami and, with the contact listening, spoke with a Senor Salvat and asked if the group was sponsored by the CIA. Salvat replied it was sponsored by the Pentagon, which is in competition with the CIA, and therefore all activities of the DRE must be kept secret. On September 4, 63, the Domestic Contacts Division of the CIA circulated Kane's report on the DRE to the SAS in Washington. A notation on the routing sheet says, quote, "Sam, I talked to John Tilton about this. Mayo stunts."
What does that mean?
Don't know. I know Tilton was at Wave, but I don't know who Mayo stunts was.
Yeah, Tilton is a lesser known CIA officer at JMWave. Yeah.
Yeah. For weird, the Salvat claimed that they were funded by the Pentagon and not the CIA. But, he's keeping a secret, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could have been deflecting. You never know.
On September the 12th, 63, Miami was notified that the DRE was mentioned prominently in a men's magazine cover story calling for Castro's assassination. The article stated the DRE was offering $10 million reward for Castro's death. The article appeared under the headline, "We are going to kill Castro." The story described how the DRE was offering $10 million cash reward for the death of the Cuban tyrant Fidel Castro, and that Roja, DRE Secretary General, had made the offer. Now, you can imagine this did not go over well with the CIA.
Right. As they are continuing to cause more drama.
Yeah, they might be trying to kill Fidel behind the scenes, like covertly, but you don't want to put a $10 million bounty on the man's head in public to the world. Probably not the smartest move on their part.
Yes.
So, the next day, Newbie gives 5 DRE members in Miami $660 to travel to New York to challenge pro-Castro students and to Washington to meet with the House Un-American Activities Committee, known as HUAC, The expenses of Salvat and Lanuza were both paid by Congress. The pro-Castro students agreed to debate DRE members in New York, according to a page one Washington Post story. The confrontation between pro and anti-Castro students in Times Square resulted in a near riot that paralyzed Midtown Manhattan, which probably didn't go over well either.
Yes, GP Ideal DRE was wild.
Returning to Miami, the DRE leaders stopped in Washington as planned, and Salvat met with HUAC staff, and HUAC picked up some of the expenses. And likely on their trip to Washington, probably were called in to have a chat with Mr. Helms as well at this point. Again, would be my guess. September 23rd, Fernando Garcia Chacon of the DRE responded to a JM-WAVE inquiry about the C Magazine article. Quote, certainly, what is stated in the article is false. It wasn't us. We didn't do that. You must be crazy. They're lying. We are being set up. Okay.
Wasn't us.
Right. Now, October 16th, 63, Joe. We're getting to the critical mass here.
Yep.
JM-WAVE informed headquarters that AM Hint 53, or aka Roca, said that the DRE's military plan would be delivered to Newbie on October 18th, 63. So they plan on moving forward with operations, contrary to what they've been told to do. And they're going to let Newbie know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. And Rob, keep that, you said October 16th, right?
Yeah.
Keep that date in mind, because October 13th, Salvat, and this is what I'm going to get into in my segment here, was in Dallas talking to Cuban exiles, which will kind of be the second part of this. So this is all kind of coming together in a sense, right? Maybe trying to rally the troops type of thing.
Yeah. So October 22nd, Miami Station received a cable from CIA headquarters saying, quote, headquarters concerned as to how Tutor 1, identity unknown, involvement with AMSPELs may affect the utilization of the Tuto group in other station activities. We'll discuss with Newbie after his arrival at headquarters and advise. A comment from the White House, chief of the Western Hemisphere's desk at CIA headquarters, suggested, quote, Newbie come to headquarters to discuss AMHINT 5 activities in Venezuela. So now you have Joanides being called back to Langley to the carpet to answer for his unruly DRE folks.
Right. Why aren't you looking over these scafuzas like you were hired to do, type of thing, right?
Yep. On October 22nd, the DRE submitted to Howard, or Newbie, or Joanides, a proposed military operation against Cuba called Operation Macau.
How?
Operation Macau 4.
How for?
That same day, Roca gave Joanides a 40-page plan for military action in Cuba written in Spanish. Hope you can read it, motherfucker. Shackley informed headquarters that Joanides would follow up and personally deliver his findings to headquarters. All right.
Headquarters of the CIA?
Yeah.
Okay.
After study by WAVE, followed by conferences with AMHINT 2, Salvat, and AMHINT 53, Roca, Newbie will proceed to headquarters for discussion. Now we're into November, Joe. November 63.
We're getting there.
November 6th, Ted Shackley weighed in on a detailed cable about the DRE's plan. He said the CIA had told the group if they had plans for military action, they should submit them for consideration. He noted that the group had been threatened with a cutoff of funding in March of 63, and this was their response. In other words, fuck you. We're going to do what we want to do. We'll let you know about it, but we're going to do it anyway. So take our money if you want to.
Rob, let me ask you this: would the QBARC CIA ask them for their plans just to know their plans, even though they might have not had any intention of.
Of course.
Yeah, all right. It's like, yeah, sure, give us your plans, guys.
And are they the real plans? Who knows? I'm sure the DRE doesn't trust the CIA.
Right. So there's
If
a
they want to
lot
hook
of
them up to freaking polygraphs.
right. There's a lot of fuckery going on here, double dealing, whatever you want to call it.
Yes. All right. So he noted that the group had been threatened with the cutoff of funding in March of '63, and this was their response. Shackley criticized the DRE leaders, saying they had an overblown view of their effectiveness, which means y'all ain't as great as you think you are. And this is coming from Shackley. Okay. So calm down. Just have a seat over there on the bench, boys. Okay. You ain't all of that, is what he's saying, basically. They regarded themselves as, quote, the equals of generals and ambassadors, he said. And they also had a, quote, penchant for insecure behavior, unquote. He recommended at that time to cut the group off financially for good. This is coming from Shackley.
Yeah.
On November 6th. On November 13th, the DRE submits expenses to Howard for Operation Macau 4. Macau.
Pay us back, brah.
On November 15th, SAS Chief Desmond Fitzgerald cabled Miami ordering the cutoff of the DRE military section per Shackley's recommendation. Funding for the DRE's non-military efforts, however, were not affected.
Right. That would be propaganda efforts, not the military wing, if you will, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So now, November 19th, we're really fucking close, people.
Yeah. And the last date you said was like a week before the assassination.
Yeah.
So now we're even getting closer, right?
Continue. Yeah, within a couple days here. November 19th, Newby told Roca that the CIA would not support the DRE's military operations plans anymore. As recounted in CIA cable, Newby told Amhint 532 that he regretted to inform him that Kubark was not inclined to support any part of an AMSPEL military plan. Although support to AMSPEL for propaganda and education would continue. Newby stated that he was instructed to encourage AMSPEL to seek support of organization with which AMSPEL ideologically was compatible. In other words, he's pretty much telling them to evolve into something else at this point. Okay. This whole DRE thing has a bad name. It's got a bad smell to it. Forget your military operations and just roll everything else into something,
That's not going to cause us as many problems as
more propaganda-ish,
Yeah.
and educational, right?
Mhm.
Non-military actions. So you can imagine that went over like a, fart in a bathtub. Newby stated, he was instructed answer ideologically, and he says parting was most non-amicable.
Mm?
6:10 p.m. same day, or I'm sorry. We're now to November 22nd.
Okay.
President Kennedy was shot and killed as the motorcade passed through Dallas. At around 3 p.m. Central Time, the wire services reported that the suspect had been arrested and his name was Lee Harvey Oswald. At 6:10 p.m., a CIA cable from Miami to headquarters reported that local radio stations were, quote, carrying a report, one Lee H. Oswald arrest as primary suspect in president assassination. Amhint 53 reports AMSPEL delegate had radio debate with Lee Oswald, a Fair Play for Cuba committee, sometime in August of '63 on New Orleans radio station WDSU. According to AMSPEL files, Oswald, a former U.S. Marine who had traveled to Moscow in '59, at which time Oswald renounced his citizenship and turned over his passport to the American consulate, allegedly lived in the home Soviet foreign minister for 2 months. In course of radio debate, subject confessed that he was a Marxist. Lanuza and Brunier spoke to reporters extensively that night, recounting Oswald's pro-Castro activities in New Orleans. The story received prominent coverage in many leading newspapers the next day. Suspect denied being a communist on August 20th, said the Washington Post. So now, you can understand the friction between the DRE, higher-ups, and the U.S. government, the CIA, JFK in particular. Big friction. No trust. They wanted the DRE on a leash that they could control, and the DRE was a barking dog wanting to chew through that fucking leash and be unleashed.
It's a great analogy.
Right. Now, if you are a smart, and these guys were fucking smart, they're not stupid, they could have possibly seized on the fact that this was the perfect opportunity. As soon as it was announced that President Kennedy was going to be coming to Dallas, which I think is the closest to New Orleans, right? You don't want to shit where you eat in Florida, okay? Where in Miami,
Right.
You don't want to do that when Kennedy's there, right?
That would have raised a million red flags, even more red flags than there are. But yes.
So they were pissed at Oswald. Okay, they were pissed at Oswald,
and rightfully so.
Imagine if these guys sat around, in their bodega one evening, shooting the shit, drinking some cervezas, right? And came up with a plan, okay, to not only kill Kennedy, but do it in a way that was a giant fuck you to America. And what I mean by that is in front of hundreds of witnesses in broad daylight. And pin it on Lee Harvey Oswald, who they hated, right? This guy was supposedly pro-Castro. He tried to trick him and infiltrate their group.
Mm-hmm.
They all got arrested. They debated. They didn't like each other. You got to remember, Brunier was extreme far-right General Walker level type motherfucker.
Yes.
So you can imagine a scenario where, I don't think this is something that Brunier would have concocted on his own. He definitely would have run it up the flagpole, if you will,
right,
to somebody like Salvat. And if they could convince themselves and come up with a very convincing plot that they could get away with doing this and not be caught and actually pin it on this stupid ass gringo,
right,
piss them off.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And if two Cuban exiles from New Orleans, personally accompanied Lee Oswald to Dallas and were aware of the fact that he was going to be going to Mexico City and then coming back to live in Dallas because that's where his wife just moved back to. And it's right about this time that the president's trip to Dallas is announced, that it was going to be taking place. Now, sure, no final plans, no motorcade route yet, but the trip had been announced. So now the Cuban exiles have one part of their plan coming together, which is their patsy will be going back to the city that they were going to be killing Kennedy in.
Yeah.
Which is a plus. Now, you just have to figure out the rest of it. Okay? You have to have somebody in Dallas watching this motherfucker, Oswald, very closely and reporting back, like where he's living.
What's the foolery is he up to?
What is he doing? Where is he working? Right?
What meetings
So
is he attending?
by the middle of October, they figure out that this dumbass is working at the school book depository, right? Now, again, they don't know where the motorcade route is yet. That's not announced until a couple days before the actual assassination, right? But he doesn't have to be
On the exact motorcade route
on the exact motorcade route.
for it to work.
Correct. If he is,
That's a great plus.
yeah, and if you can figure out, if you have a map of Dallas and you can figure that Kennedy is going to be coming into Love Field, right? And he's going to be having a luncheon at a certain place, there's only so many ways you can go
Right.
by car. And if you figure that he's going to want to be seen by the people and wave to the people, as he's been known to do in the past in other cities, then one could hopefully logically conclude that he would do the same thing in Dallas.
Right.
Now, of course, one thing you can't control, Joe, is the weather.
Right. With the bubble top and
Had
shit.
it been raining and the bubble top is on the car, they likely would have had a backup plan, right?
Mhm.
Which we have heard some murmurings about.
Right. Roy Hargraves, to not get it go on a tangent, but yeah, he alluded to that.
Yes. Now, one might say, well, I'll circle back to that, and I'll turn it over to Joe now, because one thing that we talked about with Larry and David the last time they were on is, okay, you can figure things up to a point in New Orleans, right?
Yeah.
Now you have to figure out the Dallas portion. If they're truly setting Oswald up to take the fall for this, how does this happen? What is going on? And that's the key, right? We can all agree that Oswald is acting a certain way in New Orleans to a point, right? And then after he comes back from Mexico, he's kind of acting a totally different route. You know, he was unemployed for almost 3 months from June
Right.
to October.
July 19th, I believe it was. So you're at like July, August,
4 months.
September, October. So yeah, it's 3 months, right?
3 months, 4 months.
I believe he was fired from Riley on the 19th, but I could be
He's unemployed. He's ramping up this FPCC bullshit. You know, he's handing flyers out. He's scafoozing around, arguing with Cubans, and doing it in public. And when he comes back to Dallas, what does he do? None of that shit. Allegedly, he decides to buckle down. He's consigned with the fact that, okay, well, we're not getting back to fucking Russia. We're not going to be able to get to Cuba. You know, he was denied at the Russian and Cuban embassies in Mexico to go back. The people in Washington they've been writing to, having them jump through hoops, and they're not helping out. He wanted all this to happen before Marina had the baby in October. That didn't happen. So now he's resigned to the fact that, all right, well, I might as well just get a job. Any job will do. And I'll just scafooze work for a while and see what happens.
right.
Which brings us to Dallas. So, Joe, what was he doing in Dallas?
I'll get to that in a second. I want to ask you one question.
Yes, sir.
This is a hypothetical. So obviously we know kind of Oswald kind of took himself into the hornet's nest by trying to infiltrate the anti-Castro Cubans in New Orleans, right? He effed around and found out, type of thing. Do you think that if he never, say, approached or was it Ernesto Rodriguez first at the Berlitz Language School and then Bernier tried to offer them training and whatnot, that they would have come at him as hard, or would they be like, this is just some stupid gringo on the street with some Fidel placard over his head, you know?
I think they were pissed. And I think we don't know the whole story.
But would they have been as pissed if he didn't try to dupe them.
No. But again,
Right.
I don't think that we have been told the entire story
I agree.
because I think there was some fuckery going on at Horace Pena's bar as well with Oswald and the Cuban exiles.
Mm-hmm.
That,
Yeah.
and whatever was going on there, I don't think the entire story of Oswald versus the Cuban exiles has been told. It's
Yes.
been told. Uh, the question is nobody pays any attention to it,
Yeah.
but because the Scafuza told it. But the Scafuza has corroborating things from the INS to back up his story.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like I said, I think there's more to the story. It's just we've only been privy to part of it until we've started putting the puzzle pieces together for this thing. And trust me when I tell you, you're not going to want to go anywhere for when it comes back to me because I got some mind blowing shit for you
Okay.
after Joe's done. So don't go anywhere. I'm telling you, you're not
All
going
right.
to miss what I have to show you.
Sounds good. Well, I was kind of tasked for my segment to talk about whether Lee ever did some pamphlet, pamphleting, leafleting in Dallas other than New Orleans, because of course we know all about his New Orleans activities. We know Miami was kind of the focal point of the Cuban exile community with JFK and everything like that. But we don't hear much about the presence of Cuban exiles in Dallas. So I found some interesting things, Rob. If you want to put it up, I think it's ready on the.
Yeah, and real quick, this is why when we get to the point of what if Salvat was one of these Mexicans, or I'm sorry, Cubans that came with Oswald to Odio's house.
Right.
Now, Sylvia Odio would later become a DRE supporter once she moved to Miami for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying. And so, even if it was Salvat that came to her house, she would never say it was him.
Right. She
So,
would. She wouldn't want to undermine the
right,
the Cuban effort in a sense.
right.
And I believe she said that as much, right?
She did. And so did Father McCann. He believed that even if she knew who came to her door, she wouldn't say.
Right. Right.
All
And
right. Here's Joe's screen share here.
all right, so this is Oswald's letter to the Fair Play for Cuba Committee, April 19th, 1963. And let's put this in context. We have the Walker shooting on the 10th. Not saying Lee was involved in that. We have his Texas Employment Commission guaranteed sighting on the 12th. So this would be about a week later. This would be before he left for New Orleans. This is what Lee says to the FPCC. Dear sirs, I do not like to ask for something for nothing, but I am unemployed, which we know he was. Since I am unemployed, I stood yesterday for the first time in my life with a placard around my neck, passing out fair play for Cuba pamphlets, etc. I only had 15 or so, which is not very much, by the way. In 40 minutes, they were all gone. I was cursed as well as praised by some. My homemade placard said, "Hands off Cuba, viva Fidel." I now ask for 40 or 50 more of the fine, basic pamphlets, 14, I don't know if it's 14-inch or something, probably. Signed, Lee Harvey Oswald.
Do we have a date for this letter or no?
April 19th is the date, although it is not dated. It's the alleged date, according to various sources.
Well, that's weird
It is weird.
because that's right before they supposedly moved back to New Orleans, like literally within days.
Correct.
So why would he leave his PO box? I guess he was hoping on the mail getting forwarded to him in New Orleans, maybe.
Right. I mean, we know he went to New Orleans and did the whole post PO box forwarding thing, and then we know he did it back when he left New Orleans back to Dallas. But yeah, This is according to my research in the last few days. This is when it was written. So, and I think it says Exhibit 61. It might be a War Commission
Oh, and it
exhibit.
says up there in the blue, right at the top, April 19th. Rob, you dumb fuck. Okay, never mind.
Oh yeah. Oh my writing. Yeah. That's my title. But yeah, um, that is what I was able to ascertain based on posts and documents and stuff like that. Um,
So again, this is before
he went to New Orleans.
before he went to New Orleans and started doing the same thing.
Correct. So Rob and I had the interesting discussion after members only because we've all heard the rumor that Lee Harvey Oswald did do some pamphleting in Dallas at some point. There is not a lot of hard evidence that says it was, but some of the evidence that I found is going to be explored here. It's obviously not conclusive like anything in this case. Um, this is FBI memo, day of the assassination, night of the assassination, to Assistant Special Agent in Charge E.H. Witherround. This is to record instructions and preparations made in connection with the assassination of the president. Inspector J.R. Malley, Investigative Division of the Bureau, stated that Secret Service had asked the Bureau to do anything it could in connection with this matter, and that the Dallas Division had been instructed to run any possible logical lead out thoroughly and immediately. He said this also applied to other field divisions, and that later on the night of 11/22/63, a general teletype of instructions would be forthcoming from the Bureau. He said that if there was any doubt, ascertain, blah, blah, blah. He advised that Lee Harvey Oswald was being given a polygraph. Interesting. Examination in Dallas in view of his possible implication. The general handling of leads in this matter is to be centered under the responsibility, blah, blah, blah. Any aspects that have a bearing on the Fair Play for Cuba committee, in which Oswald is alleged to be the organizer or chairman in Texas, Rob, not New Orleans, are to be handled by Section 312, supervisor something. There should be a close coordination between Sections 25 and 312. So, did Oswald try to open up a FPCC committee thing in Texas? Well, I came across an interesting article. I'm going to read it now. This is. Can you put this down for a sec, Rob?
And by the way, I'm just seeing all this confusing bullshit in the chat with this MG person. Obviously, this discussion is above his pay grade, and as you were, sir.
Uh, I'm not looking at the chat, but I'll take your word that it's confusory.
He's a confuser.
Um, I'm going to read an article written by Jeffrey Meek in April 2020.
Meek.
Yeah, who I've met at the past few Lancer conferences. He didn't like me at first, but I think he does now. But who knows?
Don't blame me.
Yeah, I grow on you, right?
Like a bad foot fungus.
Here we go.
I know.
Thanks, bro.
More like a ball fungus. Right, continue. On a hot, humid day.
All right. There are many opinions as to who assassinated JFK. Did Lee Harvey Oswald do it alone? Was Oswald working with others? Blah, blah, blah. Now, almost 60 years later, it's not likely we'll ever know for sure. Smoking gun document spelling out What happened very likely does not and never did exist, but the tentacles that reach from the out from Oswald in many directions, um, CIA, Mafia, Cubans are the most likely culprits. And this is going to lead into the Harlandale house that I have and the presence of the Cuban exile community in Dallas. Um, a point of interest has resurfaced again of late, that being of a November 22nd, 1963 report made by Dallas County Sheriff's Department Deputy Buddy Walters. In his report, I think this is next. Hold on. I may as well put it up. Yeah. Um, at a house at 3128 Harlandale, some Cubans have been having meetings on the weekends and were possibly connected to the quote, Freedom for Cuba Party, of which Oswald was a member. Walters got the name wrong. Of course, who corrected him on that?
Jack Wooby.
Jack Wilby. That'd be the Fair Play for Cuban Committee, as he crouched in his fake glasses in the back.
But he
Um,
was correcting Henry Wade, not Buddy Walters.
yeah. Um, Oswald was a self-proclaimed member of the Fair Play for Cuba Committee, which he set up while in New Orleans in the summer of '63. He added that the informant told him on November 26th, that '63, that someone between 7 days before Kennedy was shot and the day after he was shot, these Cubans moved from this house. Again, this is the Harlandale house. My informant stated that Oswald had been to this house before. Walters did not say who his informant was, but many years later, in a little known book by Eric Tagg, titled Brush with History, A Day in the Life of E.R. Walters, he identified the informant to an extent that Tagg said Walters told him this information by his mother-in-law, who is unnamed in the book. How could she possibly know, he asks. Mr. Meek asks. Because she lived on Harlandale. The book states that she had been noticing the comings and goings of a group of Cubans on her block that gathered often for political meetings in the house of 3126 Harlandale. Tay got much of his information directly from the Walters family. Doing research on Ancestry.com and FindAGrave.com, I learned that Walters' mother-in-law was Lillian Robinson, who died in 2017. I contacted Tate to confirm this, which he did. He told me that Walters was contacted the evening of the assassination, saying that Oswald had been at the Harlandale house, in the prior weeks and month. She recognized Oswald when he was shown on television. Robinson was not the only one with information on the Harlandale house, according to Dirty Dick, Rob, your boy, and the man who knew too much, Texas reporter Lonnie Hudkins, along with former Look magazine editor T. George Harris, had found people in the Little Cuba area of Dallas that said Oswald and others had attended a nighttime party at Harlandale on November 20th. So that would have been what, Wednesday night of the assassination? Before the assassination, Walters discovered the house was rented by Manuel Rodriguez Escobedo, a leader of the violent anti-Castro organization called Alpha 66. It has been suggested by a few sources that Escobedo was mistaken for Oswald, but looking at photos of Escobedo on the internet, one sees they do not look alike at all. The book says Walters also learned that members of the Student Revolutionary Directorate, also known as the DRE, also participated in the meetings. Federal documents show that the DRE was being funded for up to $51,000 a month in 63. Not only that, but it's known that when Oswald was in New Orleans in August 63, he visited and later got into a fight. Blah, blah, blah. Oswald wrote to the head of the FPCC, V.T. Lee, on August 1 about a street demonstration fight, but the fight didn't take place until days later, on August 9th. And I believe, Rob, the letter was August 1st. With Carlos Bernier, leader of the DRE in that city. Case officer was George Jones. We all know this. Walter's November 23 report also states that he spoke with the head of the Dallas Secret Service for Sorrells about this discovery. There was a Secret Service report dated April 24, 64 from Sorrells to J. Lee Rankin. This report has information about Ocobadero, but there is no mention of the Harlandale house. It goes into a lot of more information, but let me just read this document here, since I've had it up for a couple minutes. This is a supplementary investigation report by DPD Officer Buddy Walters, Detective Mr. Decker, at about 8 a.m. this morning, while in the presence of Alan Sweat, I talked to Sorrells, of the Secret Service, the head of the Dallas Secret Service. I advised him that for the past few months at a house at 3128 Hollandale, some Cubans had been having some meetings on weekends and were possibly connected with the, quote, Freedom for Cuba party, of which Oswald was a member. This is now 11/26, granted the name supplemental report. I don't know what action the Secret Service has taken, but I learned today that sometime between 7 days before the president was shot and the day after he was shot, these Cubans moved from this house. My informant stated that the subject Oswald had been to this house before. So, Rob, this is a problem. This is a problem. We have some more things on the Harlandale house and on Alpha 66. The Cubans needed interpreters. I'm not going to really go through this that much. We talked about the Treasury agent Frank Ellsworth before on the show. I know Rob. He kind of comes into this a little bit in the Harlandale house, but it kind of goes on. But Rob, this is an example of when we talk about the Dallas Cuban exile community in Dallas. This was a picture, allegedly, of one of the meetings. Now, we don't know if this was a DRE meeting or an Alpha 66 meeting, but there's allegedly these three guys in the front, and this would be the guy they're talking about here down on the below, would be Manuel Cruz of the DRE, allegedly. This would allegedly be one of the Odio sisters, either Annie or Sarita. I do not know which one, but it is alleged that she's on the left of this picture here, that she is one of the people that have attended these meetings, and actually Sylvia Odio did mention that one of her sisters did attend these meetings. So, who knows? As you can see, this is a packed meeting, bro. There's quite a lot of people here.
Well, they can't see. I'm back.
Oh, okay.
I was missing in action apparently for a little bit.
Oh, you were? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I got booted off the World Wide Web.
It happens, man.
Somebody's listening.
Yeah, we're getting too close to the...
Here's your picture, folks. I got it up now, Joe. Pray continue.
Yeah, this is allegedly one of these meetings in the fall of 63 of, it's either, some people say it's Alpha 66, 66. I'm sorry. Some people say it's DRE, and this, we're going to get into the document that says Salvat came in October 13th, but allegedly the woman on the left here could be one of the Odio sisters, and the person on the bottom here could be one Manuel Cruz. Although we know how it is with document or with pictures and identification, who the hell knows? But kind of looks like it based on the three images up here. That would
Who is Manuel Cruz?
uh, some of the dude that was arrested at the fracas.
You mean Miguel Cruz?
Miguel Manuel Cruz, I believe is his name. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, so I mean that looks legit to me. What do I know? His ears are huge, which is a huge giveaway here. Um,
If that is Miguel Cruz from New Orleans, that's a problem.
that's a problem. And again, I don't know the date of this picture. I don't know whether it's Alpha 66 or a DRE meeting, but just to kind of showcase how the Cuban exile community was very active in Dallas, right? There's, I don't know, maybe 70 ish people there, maybe close to 100, I don't know. Um, Very interesting, I thought this was, and I found this on the education forum. So take that as what you will. But interesting, huh?
Very interesting.
There was a big, we always think JM Wave, obviously Miami being the hub, New Orleans, but even the DRE had how many delegates in New Orleans, Rob?
One.
Exactly. But we think about it as being a big hub because of the fracas and listen, I'm not saying it wasn't, you know, a popular spot. We obviously know Lee Harvey Oswald was discouraged from creating a chapter there, right? But no one thinks about Dallas as being a type of hub, and I think it was. And a lot of these people were traveling. A lot of these people were raising money, giving talks, etc. So
And we know there was a big Cuban community there. Thank you to Father McCann and Sylvia Odio.
yeah, exactly.
And I also believe, Joe, in the overlaid photo here. I don't know if you have the original photo just by itself or somebody's confused this up for you.
Someone's confused it up for me.
That there, Oswald is allegedly in the background, or another photo of this.
Yes. That is also in the education forum thread. It was so grainy, and you couldn't tell anything. I didn't think it was worth showing, but it is alleged that Oswald was at one of these meetings.
I like the dude sitting next to the alleged Odio with his big long cigarette holder.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me. You know, one of them guys that smokes it like this. Yeah,
Uh,
I'll look
before,
at that.
before the good old days of
All right,
e-cigarettes and,
girl. Mhm.
and, and vapes. But yeah, I mean, listen, I mean, you could see, these meetings were lightly attended. I don't see a blank seat. I mean, I overlaid the.
Heavily attended.
Yeah. So, like, there's a significant group in Dallas, and a lot of them met at the Harlandale House. And we just showed Buddy Walters' day after report on 11/23 saying he heard from his informant that Oswald was attending these meetings. So, can you tell Oswald from this picture? Probably not. Obviously not. But is it possible? Sure. I don't know. You don't know what he was up to, but you have to think if this is Manuel Cruz or Miguel Cruz, I'm sorry, um, and Oswald was there after the fracas, that would be a problem,
Yeah,
right?
busy.
Yes. Uh, So now we're going to go to an interview with Miss Anna Silveria of the DRE. Oh my God, let me try to read this. Miss Anna Silveria, age, I think it says 18.
Tender age of 18.
She's legal. Uh,
Barely legal.
a member of the DRE advised that she had gone to Dallas, Texas from Miami, Florida for an open meeting of the DRE in that city held on October 13th, 63. So, do I know if this picture I just showed was from that meeting or from a different one? No, I have no fucking idea.
Well, it says that the meeting was at the Dreyfus Club, not the Harlandale House. So
Okay, but do we know if that was the Harlandale House or the Dreyfus
yeah,
Club?
allegedly it was the Harlandale House meetings.
That meeting, the picture I just showed.
Yes.
Okay, allegedly. And she estimated about 70 persons attended this meeting.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. She said in a second meeting was held at 8 p.m. October 13th in a conference room over a bank in a shopping center in Dallas, and this meeting was for English-speaking persons, and she estimated about 30 attended. She stated that these meetings had previously been advertised at Dallas in order to give the interested public an opportunity to hear discussion by DRE members of the Cuban situation. So, of course, Rob, this is the propaganda arm.
Well, you would also think that if they advertised these meetings in Dallas, Oswald, being the prolific newspaper reader that he was, even if it was a day late, might have known about these meetings.
I, yeah, and he might have skipped his. I think his typing class was back in the spring or
Yeah, no.
April. But yeah, he would have come up with some excuse and be like, "Peace." I mean, listen, he wasn't even living in Marina, so he wouldn't even have to come up with an excuse. But
Yeah, he was looking with the was it the other rooming house? The first one with Mary, what's her face?
Bledsoe.
Bledsoe, yeah, at this time.
Yeah. Miss Vieira stated that at the meeting of October 13th, a sheet of paper was passed among the attendees of those who were interested in receiving the bi-weekly English language publication, The Cuban Report, which is composed by the DRE in Miami, were requested to furnish their name and address. She stated she also made note of their names and those individuals present who made contributions to the DRE at the meeting. Miss Silveira stated she had the list at the office of the DRE in Miami and that she was relatively certain that the name of Lee Harvey Oswald was not included on the list. Of course, I don't think Oswald would have given donations, really.
What was O.H. Lee on the list?
It could have been.
Or A.J. Heidel on the list?
I have the list in a second. Photo of Oswald after since the assassination, and it's relatively certain he was not among those present at the meeting. Again, DRE, of course, members are going to deny that, right?
Yeah, especially if they're setting his ass up.
Right. On December 23rd, 63, Miss Silveria was contacted at the DRE offices, at which time she made available the list of those attended the meeting. On October 13th, 63, there's a typewritten list, and Miss Silveria explained that she had disposed of the original paper bearing the names and addresses which had been passed to the audience in Dallas.
Isn't that convenient?
Yes, this list made available by Miss Silveria, and I don't recognize anything. I think Joseph Kennedy's name is ironic. I don't think Joseph Kennedy was there. He was kind of...
Joseph D. Kennedy.
I know, but you know what I mean. Donovan, which I believe was an FBI agent, but I don't think these names line up. But they give the donation list, right? So this... What's the first name? The Lee Baker or Mr. something Baker $250. That's a lot of money. All these Scafusas are giving
Yeah,
$5
yeah, definitely like $2,500 back then.
at least. Yeah. You have a bunch of other people. So this
Ten,
is a.
$10 is like $100. $15 like $150.
Mhm.
$100 is
So
like 1,000.
like I said, when we're talking about the Cuban exile community in Dallas, it's kind of significant, right? I mean, not that all these guys, but
I
even
would say.
$5 is like 50, $60. Like, that's a lot to give to I go to church, they pass around the baskets, I give like $5. And that's today, you know what I mean?
Right.
Um, Whatever. I don't know. It's interesting. I thought this list was interesting. It continues. Miss Silveria pointed out that the last 9 names on this list were the last names of the individuals who attended a meeting at the DRE in Fort Worth, Texas, held at approximately 5 p.m. October 20th. So now we're going from the 13th to 20th at a bank near Fort Worth on the expressway running from Fort Worth. She said that there was English-speaking persons and had been requested by someone, blah blah blah, who had attended the meeting
I think that was the people that gave $250.
Let's go back. Lanfer.
Yeah.
It
Maybe.
could be.
I don't know.
It's not far off.
Yeah. Dorothy's nuts. I mean, you see that at the bottom left? Dorothy nuts.
Yeah.
These nuts?
um, Now we're going to go to interview with Joaquin Martinez.
Jay
The
Martin. Pay attention. We found another one for you.
doc. I don't know if it says doctor here. Pinelios, age 22. And remember, a lot of these DRE people were very young. Stated he is in charge of publishing the Cuban report for the DRE. In Miami, Florida, he stated that Ana Silveria, who we just read, Manuel Salvat, the latter, an officer of the DRE and himself, traveled from Miami to Dallas, Texas in October 1963 for the purpose of holding public meetings to inform those interested of the work the DRE has done and hopes to do with respect to the Castro regime in Cuba. Mr. Pianos stated that Dean Perkins assisted the DRE in organizing the meetings and arranging the publicity attached to the meetings. He said, that's probably an alias. This publicity included an appearance on a television station in Dallas and also contact with the Dallas Morning Star, a newspaper published in Dallas, Texas. And Rob, I want to go back.
And real quick, Joe, also great cover to send Salvat there, who has actually no business being there. He is not with the propaganda arm of the DRE. He is with the operations arm of the DRE to meet with maybe some other Cuban exiles in Dallas and maybe go over some plans with them, if you know what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
yeah, that's a good point. And Rob, I missed this before. I didn't miss it earlier, but I just missed it now. Karen Martin, Dallas Morning News, is on this list that Miss Ana Silveria provided. So maybe she was helping out as well um, with the meetings and arranging publicity,
Yeah.
right? So, like I said, we're talking about what the Scafuzas and the Cuban exile community were up to, and they were up to a lot in the fall. This is the rest of the document. Mr. Pineos stated Ms. Silveira and himself addressed the English speaking audience which attended the DRE meetings. He said, and we're talking about raising funds, right? And how they might have been on the verge of losing their funding. So what are you going to do? You're going to try to secure new funding, right? That's what I would do. He said that in addition to the meetings on the evening of October 13th in Dallas, two meetings were held at the University of Dallas, one at South SMU, Southern Methodist University, shout out John Martin Thorne, and at some high school in Dallas. He estimated that the meetings held in Dallas on October 13th, approximately 50 to 60 people attended. The afternoon session, so they had multiple sessions, it was addressed by Emmanuel Savat, and approximately 25 to 30 attended the evening session. He stated that neither of these meetings did anyone in the audience attempt to bring up the debate or agitation. He stated that he did not give any close observation to any of the English speaking and cannot really state if Lee Harvey Oswald might have been present. But they are looking into this.
Certainly. It's interesting.
Yeah. Now we're going to go to interview with Edwin Steig by none other than
Hosty.
Jose. Uh, this would be
Twinkie.
December 19th, which would be a little less than a month after the assassination. Edwin L. Steig, Garland, Texas, advised he attended a meeting of the DRE held on a Sunday evening at 8 p.m. sometime during the month of October 63. There were almost 75 persons present. It was held at the First Federal Savings and Loan Association conference room in the North Lake Shopping Village in Dallas, Texas. Steve stated that he had sat in the back of the room and listened to several speakers who talked about the situation in Cuba. Steve stated that another individual sat in the back of this room who he believes is identical with Lee Harvey Oswald. This individual spoke to no one, but merely listened and then left, which again would kind of make sense of why he wasn't on the Silvedia's list, right? Mr. Steig stated that most of the persons present signed a guest roster, which was taken by Miss Sarah Castillo, who held some position with the DRE. Well, who is Miss Sarah Castillo?
Well, by the way, Joe, let me just add, this was held at the North Lake Village Shopping Centers, and oh, by the way, who lived around North Lake in Dallas? That would be Lucille Cannell. And that's also where they held the General Walker, John Martino speech.
Yeah, and funny,
the North Lake Village.
Funny you bring up Walker. Miss Sarah Castillo, Valley Ridge Drive, Texas, advised she at one time was secretary for the DRE of Cuba, and on Sunday, October 13th, 63 at 8 p.m., her organization held a meeting in the assembly room, the place we just talked about. Ms. Castillo stated among visitors present was former General Edwin A. Walker. Ms. Castillo stated she does not recall Lee Harvey Oswald being present at this meeting, but she did not observe all of the visitors. Of course, if he's in the back, he probably would have. Ms. Castillo stated that most of the persons present signed a guest roster, which was forwarded to Miss Anna Silviera, who we've gone over, who is with the DRE as well and lives in Miami, Florida. So, interesting that Hosty is doing a lot of these interviews. Very interesting that Walker is there. And we talk about a lot, maybe ad nauseum, to how a lot of these groups had cross purposes when it came to Cuba. The far right, which consisted of Minutemen and Walker and people like that, did not want a communist nation 90 miles off our shore. The Cuban exiles wanted to get rid of Castro. The mafiosos wanted to get their casinos back. And the CIA wanted kind of all three of those. So you could see how a group could have came together. I'm not saying all of them, but to for their aligned interests, right?
Yes,
And
absolutely.
you could take that down now. But I thought that was very interesting to kind of highlight what was going on
In Dallas with the
in
DR.
Dallas, right? Because we don't really talk about the exiles in Dallas. We talk a lot about the White Russian community and things like that. But just because it's not as publicized as say New Orleans or JM Wave in Miami doesn't mean it wasn't active. And if Salvat, a BSD, a big swinging you know what, of the DRE is going there and talking multiple times, it had to be of some importance.
Yeah, and he's the head of the operations part of the DRE, not the propaganda part. So again, it could have been perfect cover for him to make that trip to Dallas the auspice of, well, I'm just giving a speech, blah blah blah.
Yeah, that's a
But
good
he
point.
could really be there to do something else as well. So,
That's a really good point.
which brings us back to, how did this rifle that Lee Harvey Oswald allegedly ordered in the alias of A.J. Heidel get to Dallas and get into the school book depository, Joe?
Yes.
Because what's the problem? So you can imagine a scenario if he traveled from New Orleans with two Cuban exiles and a rifle, because again, he didn't take a rifle to Mexico, and Marina and Ruth said there was no rifle in the trunk.
Correct.
So if you can imagine a scenario where he accompanies two Cuban exiles to Sylvia Odio's house for whatever reason. And again, remember, Augustine Guitart is Sylvia Odio's uncle. Okay?
Yep.
Keep that
Yep.
in mind as well. It wouldn't have been like a mere coincidence, if you will, right? Augustine Guitart would have known that his dear, sweet niece Sylvia had some mental issues,
Allegedly.
some financial issues, some marital issues,
Definitely.
and could have
Four
included her as part of this plan unknowingly.
four kids to boot.
Right. But you can imagine a scenario, like I said, the rifle makes its way to Dallas with Oswald and the two Cuban exiles. Oswald goes to Mexico. The two Cuban exiles go their own way in Dallas somewhere, right?
Okay.
Maybe
Well,
the
we'll hold.
promise of meeting up
We'll,
later.
we'll hold on to it for you.
Yeah, it's all right. Go ahead down there. We'll hang on to it for you. When you get back, you can have it back. Well, it's not like it's very hard to track people down that don't want to be found in 1963 in the city the size of Dallas, right? Unless you know where they live and you know their phone number. Good luck, right? Uh, and it was a cheap rifle anyway, whatever, right? So say these Cubans still have AJ Heidel's rifle, right? Now they have a weapon to frame the patsy with, right? And of course, at this time, he still has not gotten a job at the school depository. He hadn't even come back to live in Dallas yet. He had to go to Mexico first and then come back. But they would have known this because they traveled with him and likely were communicating with him and knew of his plans to go to Mexico and try to go to Cuba. And they probably figured correctly that it's not going to happen, right? He's going to have to come back to Dallas, right? They're not going to let him go to Cuba. That's insane. And lo and behold, he ends up coming back to Dallas. So now they have a rifle that they can use to either participate in the assassination with or use to frame Oswald, right, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, and if you think of a situation where that happened, like you described it, Oswald goes to Mexico, tries to get to Cuba, is unsuccessful. He gets back to Dallas, and like, have you ever had a flaky friend that you called that just didn't answer at certain points.
Yeah.
That could have been these guys, these exiles.
Yeah. They could have been anti-Castro Cuban exiles posing as pro-Castro Cuban exiles.
Yes, that is the
Recruiting Oswald.
yes, that is the important part to consider because I really do think they were posing as pro Castro
Right.
Cubans.
So now one must figure, okay, they're watching Oswald. They come to find out that he's working at the book depository and that it's possibly going to be close to a motorcade route from Love Field to this luncheon that was announced way before the motorcade was announced, right? So
Mm-hmm.
again, looking at a map of Dallas, you can figure, okay, these are the airports, these are the most logical ways to get someplace, right? And assume that hopefully he likely would have at least, I mean, even if Joe, the limousine had continued straight, right, down Main Street and not made the right and then a left onto Elm, even if it would stayed on the main road, like they cut the road off for whatever reason and let them keep continuing down Main Street or even Commerce Street to get to the Stemmons Freeway,
Mm-hmm.
that he could still be touched by a rifle shot in Dealey Plaza. He doesn't have to be on Elm Street, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, you wonder about these things. How, okay, if you were to possibly frame Oswald, get the rifle into the school book depository, how in the fuck are you going to do that? Right? Well, let me share my screen, Joe.
Let me share my screen.
Yes.
Thank you, James. We're trying. We're trying to put this together.
Coming together. Just
It's coming together. We're getting there.
hold, please. Okay. Joe, this is a photo of some various Interpen members. In the background, we have
Can you
Steve.
put it back up, please?
What?
Put it back up.
What do you mean put it up? It's up.
No, it went up and then it went down.
Mm. All right, now it's down again. What the hell's going on here?
I don't know. I'm just saying it came down after you put it up. There you go. You're good.
Okay. In the background, we have Steve Wilson standing against the pole in the back row. Ed Collins wearing the hat, mustache.
Mm-hmm.
Ronald Ponce de Leon, the
Oh,
young Oswald lookalike, allegedly, right here. Behind him, you have the tall Jerry Patrick Hemming, right? And beside him, you have short, fat Larry Lawrence Howard, Fat Larry, if you will.
wait. Hemming is the one all the way in the back.
Yeah, the very tallest one.
Okay, and Howard would be the guy with the goatee and the hat,
Yeah,
right?
to his right.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, that's Fat Larry Lawrence Howard. All right, and now right in front of Lawrence Howard, with this fella here with the flight jacket on and the sunglasses,
Mm-hmm.
is a fellow by the name of Remigio Cuckoo Arce.
Oh.
Okay, and the man behind him is Ronald Augustinovich, who I think looks most like Oswald out of this whole group.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, at a glance, right?
Yeah.
All right, now here in the foreground, you have Roy Hargraves on the left, or Louis Stephen Witt, whatever you want to call him, right? And looks like he's going to punch or somebody. This is Joe Garman in the jean jacket looking thing with the funky shirt. All right, these are
Yeah.
members of Interpen,
In the center. Yeah.
right? Remember the name Remigio Cuckoo Arce.
Why was this? Why was this nickname Cuckoo?
Because he's crazy, man. He's fucking crazy, Joe. You know? I'm cuckoo, mother. I'm cuckoo for the Cocoa Puffs. All right. Here is Remigio Cuckoo Arce meeting with Frank Sturgis.
Oh yes, that is definitely Sturgis. Looks
Maybe
like
you've
him.
heard of him.
Yeah.
It looks like they're on a boat, right?
Yeah, it looks like it might be docked, but they're definitely on a boat. Yeah.
Yep, likely in Florida. I mean, we got palm trees and shit in the background, right?
Yeah. Sturgis was known to live in Florida, I
Yeah.
believe.
Here's another image on a boat, in a boat, talking to Sturgis. Again, this is Remigio Cuckoo Arce.
Right. Interpen member he was, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay,
Now,
I'm not too familiar with him. That's why I'm asking.
allegedly, all right, Frank Sturgis formed the Anti-Communist Brigade of the Caribbean. Okay?
Maybe Scott. Maybe.
The Anti-Communist Brigade of the Caribbean. And Interpen was a subset of that. Now, of course, there was no love lost between Hemming and Sturgis, but I believe at one point they were okay with each other until things fell apart.
Was that what Guy Bannister was?
No, two totally different things.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay. Now, let's move
Oh.
forward to November 22nd, 1963, and the arrest of members of the floor crew who were working on the sixth floor that day, laying new floor. Okay.
Yeah.
You can see
Shelley.
Shelly.
A random fat scafuza we don't know who is.
Yeah. Don't know who that is, but he's definitely watching.
But I think I know where you're going here.
We have Bonnie Ray Williams right here. Okay. This is
Hmm.
Bonnie Ray and his nice clean shirt. Probably a bunch of chicken grease and shit all over it. Right. And right behind Bonnie Ray is a fella by the name of Danny.
Danny
Yeah,
Arce.
Arce.
Yes.
Okay. Now, look at this jacket this motherfucker's got on. Okay.
It's nice.
It is long, Joe.
Oh yeah, trench coat style.
Yeah, perfect length, don't you think, Joe, to maybe hide a rifle inside of and sneak into the building with? Look how
I
long that sumbitch is.
I'd say that'd be more plausible than some plastic bag bullshit.
Well, even if it was wrapped in a bag, okay,
Right. But
you definitely fit a rifle in that fucking coat,
right.
right?
It'd be interesting to know how Arce got into the TSBD if he took like the back entrance or the front every morning. I don't know if that information is available, but
Well, we might get there. Hang on a second.
oh, okay.
Okay, this is Danny Arce's affidavit in any fact handwritten statement.
Cursive.
I am employed at the and look at the X in Texas, Joe.
Whoa. Hold on. Oh, wow. That's a problem.
That's a problem. So if you haven't watched our signature analysis shows, that looks very familiar.
Yes, exactly to what
Now,
Oswald
could
wrote.
be a coincidence, right? Who
Yeah.
knows? But damn if it don't look familiar.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
He says, I work all over the building. I was working on the sixth floor all morning. At lunchtime, around 12 noon, I went down on the street to see the parade and get a look at the president. I was standing on the corner of Elm and Houston. At first, he wrote, standing on the corner of the building and crossed it out and wrote Elm and Houston.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard 3 shots ring out. I didn't know what had happened until I heard a woman scream that the president had been shot. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, we have another version of this statement, and it is typed. Okay? And it does include the first part of what we just read.
Of
Okay?
course, it's Mary Patton. Yeah.
But there's more. While working on the 6th floor of the school book depository, the only people I saw all morning was Bill Shelley, Bonnie Ray Williams, Charles Douglas Gibbons. I mean, he knows these motherfuckers' middle names. Charles Douglas Gibbons, Billy Lovelady, and Jack E. Doherty. How does he know these people's middle names, man?
I don't know. I can't remember anyone's names.
The only person I saw was a real old man, and he had on an old brown suit and a Western type hat. I saw this man leave the building and drive off in an old black Buick. This man was not carrying anything in his hands when I saw him. This man was in the building after lunch. This man left in the car before the president was shot. Okay, well then, who gives a fuck who this is, right? I didn't see any other people in the building but this old man, other than the people that I named that work here. There was another employee that I saw named Lee Oswald. He was on the first floor of the building when I saw him at 8 a.m. He is the same man I saw the police bring into the homicide bureau at about 2 p.m. I also saw him on the 5th floor as we were leaving for lunch at 11:50, which totally contradicts his previous statement in this same document at the top that says lunchtime was at 12 noon. Now he says it's 11:50. 10 minutes is a long time when we're talking about seconds here, right?
Yeah.
Danny Garcia Arce. Again, spelled the exact same way as the Interpen member.
Right.
Here-
So I'm going to ask the obvious question.
Yeah.
Is there any relation? Arce, not a common name, really.
No. Not a common name. Okay. So there may be some familial relation here. Now, again, look at this dude's black coat, how long it is. It is down to his freaking knees. Okay. If you want to sneak a rifle into the building, this is the jacket you're going to wear to do it. Okay.
Yeah. And it's not that hot.
No, it's not that hot. What are you doing?
It's not in November in Connecticut or New York.
Right. Now, again, so these are Interpen personnel training at No Name Key that are unidentified. Look at this second motherfucker here.
Wow.
Tell me that don't look a hell of a lot like Danny Arce.
It does without like the little beardish thing. Yeah.
There's no beard on it.
Oh, it's shadow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, look at the scafuza behind Danny Arce
Okay.
with the floppy hat on,
Yeah.
and he has a mustache, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let's go to an unidentified spectator in Dealey Plaza. Right here. And then look at this guy on the right. Another Interpen member.
He has the same mean mug and like little downward thing of his eyes almost.
Yeah, if he shaved his mustache, I mean, he's got the same chin thing going on below his lip. You know, his lip looks the same. His chin, same jutting chin. Same
And
brow ridge, you know?
yeah, no, he has the same mug.
Yeah.
For lack of a better term. But and of course you would shave if or grow it out, but if you usually grow it out then you'd shave.
Right. Or if you usually had a mustache, you'd shave, yeah.
Right.
Now, okay. That's for later. What do you think about that, Joe?
I think we need to do some ancestry digging, is what I think.
Now, so this dude had access to the 6th floor all
Correct.
morning long.
Yeah.
He never mentions how he got into the building, when he came into the building, if anybody saw him coming into the building. But if he had that fucking coat on, okay, even if he didn't do it that day,
Right.
they've been working up on the 6th floor all week.
That was going to be my point, is it didn't even need to happen on the...
He could have brought that rifle in there and dropped it in the middle of those pallets all the way on the other side of the 6th floor, right? Nobody would ever find it unless they really are looking for it, right? Like the cops. after something happened, right?
Right. Doherty's not going to go looking for it.
Because it doesn't make sense that Bonnie Ray Williams is up there eating his chicken sandwich and smoking a cigarette in front of the window as late as 12:15 to 12:25, and you don't look over to your left and see Oswald in the fucking corner, not making a sound, quiet as a church mouse
Right.
for 10 or 15 minutes?
Yeah. Trying to sight your rifle or whatever.
Nay, nay. No, no, sir.
No.
Sorry.
I
Okay?
I agree.
You wouldn't have seen nothing except stacked up boxes, right? Because they had to move all these boxes out of the middle of the floor because they were replacing the floor.
Right.
Again, this is not a sniper's nest. It was constructed that way because they were moving all the boxes to the edges of the building so they could work on the floor.
Right.
And it just so happens that windows are on the walls of a building. Okay? Now, you're not going to stack boxes up right at the window because, hey, you might need to open the window because it gets fucking hot in there because there's no air conditioning. So I'm
Yeah.
just saying, all somebody had to do to frame Oswald was get Arcee to take this rifle into the school book depository and hide this motherfucker somewhere on the 6th floor, throw a couple shells down on the floor that, hey, Bonnie Ray wouldn't have seen, right? Because he's not looking at the floor,
Right.
and they were behind other boxes.
Right. It's probably obscured by boxes. What I was going to say.
Right.
Yeah.
So then, again, the shit goes down in Dealey Plaza. They say, oh, the shots came from the building, whatever. They search the building, blah, blah, blah. They tell Oswald to go meet somebody somewhere so he gets the hell out of the building quick. It looks suspicious to everybody else. And here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. So you
Yeah.
ask, how does this plot come from New Orleans to Dallas to frame Lee Harvey Oswald? And we're giving you a plausible scenario. We're not saying we're 100% right or that we have everything right and all the details. This is just a very loose, plausible scenario that explains a hell of a lot of other things.
Correct.
When you're looking at the big picture of everything and not just one or two small instances of something, when you take into consideration how pissed the DRE would have been at the CIA, why, after all this happens, even if the CIA can figure this out relatively quickly, they would have had to cover it up because they're funding the fucking DRE.
Yeah.
And if they're the ones that killed Kennedy and it got out,
It's a problem.
that's a big fucking problem.
Yes. And thank you, James. This is dynamite. I agree.
I told y'all don't go anywhere. I don't lie.
No.
So that's about as plain as we can lay it out to you. Again, if you have more ideas or any other facts that might fit in with this, we'd be happy to hear them in the comments section. And again, we'll be around to discuss this more next Wednesday for members only.
Yep.
Joe, did you have anything else?
No, I didn't. I just think, we've been really on a roll here these last few weeks, and I think in some of the comments, like I don't think we're far off in what happened in terms of Oswald being framed, and I think it really all goes back to the DRE, and I think what you said about Salvat going to Dallas, I think Oswald got his job at the TSBD the 16th. At Salvat's there on the 13th, maybe through the 20th. There's a lot to unpack here, and
A lot.
when you look at motive, I think the DRE on the brink of losing their funding and the fanatical people, scafuzas involved with the DRE, I think you could easily, very plausibly, create a scenario of how. And I think Oswald kind of walked into their trap in a sense. And I don't think they laid the trap. I think Oswald was just kind of naive. And
Right. And this also works for you lone nutters out there who may be watching the show who believe that Oswald was up there in the 6th floor shooting. Okay. All it takes is two people in this motherfucker's ear acting like they're pro Castro, right? To convince him to kill Kennedy. Maybe a promise of money. Because Oswald was hard up for money.
yeah,
But he certainly had the ideology, right?
yeah,
If this is really what he believed, if he's really truly pro Castro, Lenin Marxist, right? If that's really what he is, then ideally he would hate Kennedy.
yeah. And
For
who
what he's
knows?
doing to Castro in Cuba.
Yeah, and who knows exactly what his plans were in terms of leaving for Cuba, possibly. Thank you, Mike, the library man. I thought this was a fantastic show as well. But we will have part two. If you're not a covert operator, what the hell are you doing? Because we have a lot of fun on Wednesday nights and we show videos that we're not going to get dinged for copyright wise here on Fridays. And come hang with us. And yeah, we'd be happy to have you. And
Yeah. Next Wednesday,
I,
we're going to get more into Frank Sturgis because the story ain't over there, folks.
yeah. And Rob, I got to make a note of this. I'm going to write it down. We have to, I guess I'll have to re up my Ancestry account for a month to look into census reports and the RSAs and see if there's any connection between those two. Because if there was, and we were able to find that, that would be a problem. Not for us, it would be actually awesome, but it'd be a problem
Yeah. A
for
huge
the, for the official narrative.
I mean, what is a 18-year-old Cuban dude doing working at the school book depository in 1963?
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
I don't know.
100%. Mike Library Man also said, "Same face, no doubt," as I believe uh, he was talking about the pictures you showed. But
Yeah. I mean,
there,
it's crazy, man.
yeah. I mean, listen, guys. There's a lot of JFK podcasts out there. Some of them are doing good work. Some of them are not doing good work. I might be biased, but we are the best because we don't plan this shit out as in terms of our conclusions. We just take it where the things lead us. Rob didn't know exactly where I was going to go. I didn't know exactly where Rob was going to go. And it all ties in together perfectly. So, become a COVID operator, guys. Hey, my mom's a effing member. So, yeah, I'll try to get the you know who.
She'd rather support you here financially than in person financially. Dino, get your fat ass in here, sir.
For the record, but he said, "Come to Bourbon
Folks,
Street and I'll show you what."
there is Ruby. Look at that adorable face. Ruby!
She just got groomed. Look at her.
Yeah.
Ruby, you just got groomed.
What have you been doing to that dog, Joe? She looks like she has panda eyes.
Yeah, well,
You've been extracting adrenochrome from her.
the hair was cut from her eyes, so she does have panda eyes. But
Where's the baby oil?
yeah, she
She
says hi. She loves everyone. Yeah.
That's right. All right, folks. Thanks for hanging with us. We hope you enjoyed the show. As per the usual, we love doing it. And we like that you guys hung out here with us 50 strong all freaking night, baby. Smash the like button on your way out the door. Like and share this shit wherever you can so that the right motherfuckers can hear it. And to MG, go F yourself, sir. And we're out.
Yes. And tune in for Quick Hits tomorrow, guys.
Yeah, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Quick Hits will be going live on this channel. Go hit the notification bell so you don't forget. The preview is already up and out there. Just look on the channel. You'll see that it's up and coming in the morning. So set your alarms. I'm going to have to set mine, that's for sure.
Yeah. Your boy might be part of the replay crew,
I'm
but
going to be doing this and drinking coffee, but trust me, we got a banger show lined up for you. We're going to be talking Op 40, Frank Sturgis, Carl Jenkins, and Gene Wheaton, and all kinds of crazy shit. So make sure you tune in and do not miss it. Until then, peace.
have a great night, guys. Thank you for joining. Peace.
Deuces.